So anybody with any illness, if you're struggling with your health, water is key, right? We need to get ourselves some good, pure water. So people don't understand water. That's kind of there's a lot of science coming out with water right now, that water isn't just H2O. There's a whole nother level of water that we're just discovering. It's very fascinating. I love it.
Good, but why is this useful for us? What can we do with it? Well, we can get energy from water. In fact, the energy that we can get from water is free energy. It's literally free. We can take it from the environment. Let me explain. So you have a situation in the diagram with negative charge and positive charge. And when you have two opposing charges next to each other, it's like a battery. So really we have essentially a battery made of water. A battery made of water.
And basically kind of this source that I'm talking about is where you can find in kind of like a spring, a natural spring that's found on Earth. You can grab some of this water if you're near one, that's fantastic. And this kind of seems to be some of the best sources of water that you can find. And it's because it's highly energetic. Water goes into this different phase here, which we're just now discovering, which is interesting. And basically what that structure is called, it's called structured water. If you've ever heard of it. So structured water is basically, it's kind of more of a highly crystalline structure. It's more organized. It can hold more energy. It's a lower entropy version of water.
Batteries run down, like your cell phone needs to be plugged in every day or two. And so the question is, well, what charges this water battery? It took us a while to figure that out, what recharges the battery. And one day, we're doing an experiment, and a student in the lab walks by, and he has this lamp. And he takes the lamp and he shines it on the specimen. And where the light was shining, we found that the exclusion zone grew. It grew by leaps and bounds. So we thought, aha, it looks like light. And we had many experiments to show that the energy for building this comes from light.
And it differs from kind of the regular water that we have, from your tap water, from bottled water, from any of these sources of water that you're finding here. It seems to be destructured. It's not structured. It's basically the polar opposite of what I'm talking about, this highly kind of energetic form of water. So with tap water, basically it's more chaotic. It's not as organized. It's not in a crystalline form. And it's basically lower energy. It's a lower vibrational form of water is basically what it is. And this is what we're drinking on a daily basis if you're drinking just normal water. Even the filtering systems that we have, it's just all destructured, highly chaotic water. And this water tends to hold much more memory. So that's what we're discovering about water. Water isn't just water. Water is a hard drive. That's what it is. It can store information way beyond our even capacity of even knowing at this point in time. It's crazy. And I'd advise you to kind of look at Gerald Pollack's work, the fourth phase of water. Read his book. Very, very profound stuff. Masaru Emoto, when he talks about water, when you're kind of even just putting your vibrational, loving intent into your environment is enough to change the structure of water.
Water exposed to music showed beautiful crystals. But what does this prove? At least it confirms the statement of Einstein that everything is energy, and it seems that the French scientist Jacques Beneviste was right when he suggested that water has a memory.
So I started to learn a little bit more of that. I'm like, man, how can I bring this into my home? I'm not going out to a spring. There isn't any springs around here right now. I got to figure out how to, bring this into my home. The vision came to me one day where it was like, okay, now I know what I needed to do. So I kind of had this system kind of designed in my mind. So I just kind of had to go out and buy all the materials, which ended up turning into kind of a 7-stage system that we have here in our home now that basically kind of gives us structured water. Kind of a mineralized, a very interesting form of it. So we've been drinking that now for the last year and a half, and it's been awesome. So basically with water though, one thing I want to leave with water is that if it's in this more highly chaotic form, like your tap water, basically what can happen is it can start to, viruses and bacteria and all kinds of other things can start to form in this water, right? Which is the reason why your local city water, they have to dump chlorine into it to kill it all. So that was interesting to me because we don't want to drink that type of water. It's lifeless. There's no life force in this. You don't want to drink that. And especially if you got an illness, you don't want to be drinking that. You want to be drinking more of a higher energy form of water. So that's the first thing. But at the same time, I started thinking about the human body, right? The human body is 70% water. So if the water within you becomes a little more destructured, a little more less energy state, if you want to, or a more higher entropy state of water, if you want to look at it that way, then bacteria and viruses, this is like a feeding ground for them. This is the environment that brings that in. So that was kind of an aha moment I had. I'm like, what is happening here? Is there, I'm struggling with all these infections and all kinds of things in my body, and then my body's 70% water, and maybe there's something to do with maybe the energy levels in my body. So we'll get to that in kind of the conclusion section here too, is that basically, disease can manifest itself based if the terrain is desirable, if that makes sense. So if the body's in a lower energy state, your battery is lower than it should be, water will become destructured, then this kind of creates the environment for viruses and all kinds of bacteria to come. So it was a very interesting thing. I'm like, okay, I got to do something about this. We got to change the water and we got to start drinking good quality water. So I did that. I kind of designed our own system and we started drinking structured water. And that's been huge for us. Not just drinking, I decided we're going to change our whole home. So we got kind of a filtration system in our home, and now we've got structured water coming out of our taps. I figured I want to be bathing in this stuff. I want to shower in this stuff. So that just kind of kept going. So as we kept proceeding with that, I kind of looked into different levels. I started to get into more the emotional level. This is where some interesting things were starting to come. When you look at past trauma, past emotional trauma from when you're a kid, or whatever the case may be. It might even be another lifetime, whatever the case, if if you believe that stuff. So I found a woman here in the local area that she can what's the best way to say this? She can analyze that.
I have an interesting skill in that when I look at somebody and I look at their energy field, I can pretty much know within a few seconds if they're living their life purpose, are they happy? And I can also notice in their energy fields what blocks or things are in the way. He's going, look at me. Yeah, what blocks or things are in the way, because they literally light up in my head like a little pinball machine, and the pattern or whatever block you have just like lights up, and I see, ooh, that's got to go, and I can go into the energy and tell you what it is and where you got it and what age and who you bought it from. So it's like an interesting talent and skill.
She can look at that and see if there's anything there that needs to be worked on. So with me, when I started looking at that, I found there was so much emotional scarring in me that it was just like, so you got to look at this at a different level. You know, this kind of goes beyond the physical body here at this point, right? We're looking at more the energetic body, you know, how the emotional body kind of ties into that. There's a different level here, but I don't want to go and start confusing people. But basically, if you've had a traumatic event, you know, we all have when we were kids. If you've had something happen, that emotional event becomes stored within you. It's stored in your energy field. You know, if you look at emotions, that's supposed to be energy and motion. You know, they fade in, they fade out. You know, but some of these traumatic events, they're like bullet holes to your energy field, and they can sit there. So it kind of prevents how energy flows within you, which is interesting. So I started to look at that, and I found all kinds of things from when I was, 10 years old to 6 years old, to all kinds of things that I didn't even know about. I had no clue. Certain things that were from other times as well, which I won't go there. But basically, when you look at the energy system, if you're into any of this stuff, you look at the chakras, there's 7 of them. This needs to be in balance too, on how energy kind of comes in from the root all the way up to the crown. This needs to be open, if that makes sense. And a lot of these emotional events can really throw that out of balance and can really paralyze you, cripple you. The more that I kind of look at this now, see, this kind of comes back to what I just talked about water. Water can store memory, right? So your body's 70% memory. So all these emotional events and all this trauma that you could be holding on to is stored within you. Your body's a hard drive, if you want to look at it that way. And there's compelling science to even talk about this now. This is just gets me so excited talking about this stuff. I love it. Because it kind of changes the way that you look at yourself, and who you are, what you are. All these things start to come in, right? So yeah, so I started to kind of look at starting to release some of these past emotions and some of the scarring that I had. And I had, things, I can't even put it to words. I can't. It's just something that if you are interested in this and you go down this road and you start to release some of this stuff, it's probably the most profound experiences you'll ever have. It just changes the way that you operate in this reality on a level that you've probably never even experienced or even heard of, if that makes any sense. But my kind of thinking now is that, emotional scars is a big killer for people in this world right now, I think. And if you're struggling with an illness, more than likely you've got a lot of traumatic experiences built up within you that are debilitating your body to function at a level that you need it to function to get rid of to deal with your illness. So there's a few books and a few other informational sites that I can link down below on this stuff, and it's something to consider. Basically, everything that's happened to you, whether it be positive or negative, it's stored. This information is stored forever. So I'm not going to get into too much of that, but it's something that's worth considering if you're really struggling with your illness. And I did, and that is one of the reasons why I got to the level where I am today. The supplements and all the other things, the machines, the light treatments, they only got me so far. This was the next level. This was the next level clearing that needed to happen so that my body could just deal with everything else and clear it all out on its own. So I'm, the supplements and all the other things that I do, I don't even have to do them as much anymore. I don't, because my body now has the ability to take care of itself, if that makes sense. So again, that comes back to water. If you think water's water, this is the newest discoveries that is coming very, very soon. It's going to, really take this world into a different direction. So just kind of get down to the end of this here. So some other therapies I did, crystals. You know, I carry around crystals in my pocket every day. I found a few different crystals that kind of help with inflammation, blood problems, skin problems. I kind of found a nice kind of mix of crystals that kind of help with that. And you know, a lot of people are going to think, ah, yeah, crystals, that doesn't do anything. Well, that's a whole other topic, and you know, crystals are pretty powerful. Let's just put it that way. So I kind of experimented with magnetite and amethyst and bloodstone, kind of for, you know, for blood. So I kind of carry them around on a regular basis. And more last but not least, the next kind of big thing that I've found that makes a huge difference is stress management, right? And this comes with mind management, right? So this is a kind of a different level, which I'm not going to talk about now. This will be other videos maybe in the future to kind of get into that stuff. But you know, I kind of touched on that a little bit before about meditation, kind of keeping you in a more clear, kind of a different, you know, a different state of mind to where you can, you know, manage yourself better, make better choices, and this type of stuff. So the whole mind aspect to disease and trying to recover from disease is huge, huge. I can't say enough about that, and I just want to bring it up here because there's a lot of things I've done in my life to deal with that's been just so profound, and we'll get there. I just want to at least just touch on that. So basically we're at the end of this, just kind of more conclusions. I know this took a lot longer than I thought, and the more I just keep talking, the more I'll just keep talking forever, because this is just, things just start to come back in my memory from all these times, you know, it's pretty profound. So after all these 10 years of struggling, you know, what can I share with you? What did I learn? Well, for me, disease in itself, whether you're looking at Lyme or whether you're looking at anything, it's really a big key here is the level of energy in your body. I think the more the disease starts to manifest is when body energies are low. The vibrations are low, you know? Nikola Tesla talked about this during his time too. He was a big believer in trying to increase the mass within you, right? We know from Einstein's equation, you know, E equals mc squared. We know energy and mass are the same thing. So increasing one's mass is something that he talked about. He wrote a lot of articles about how to do that within oneself. So clearly there's a connection here, right? If you read another book, it's called Healing is Voltage. I talk about this a lot when you look at Dr. Cherry Tennant's work. It's just been so profound what this guy has done. He's basically found that every cell in your body, if it runs healthy, it should run at about negative 25 millivolts. So there's a negative charge on the cell to where everything within it functions properly, optimally. That's in a normal kind of adult, right? And if you get into a sick state, when the body kind of becomes a little more sick, the voltage kind of drops to about negative 10 millivolts. And if you keep going and you go flip polarity between the negative voltage and the positive voltage, so if your cell becomes a little more positively charged in the range of about 30 millivolts, so the difference between, you know, charges, just so you guys know, when you're more negative charge means you're more, you have electrons to give, basically. Right? If you're more positive charge, this is not a good state to be in because it's going to try and steal electrons from other areas, and this can really cause things. This is a very, very high level way of describing this, right, without getting into too much detail. But basically what I'm trying to say is that the voltage levels of the cell it's a complete relationship to the energy levels in the cell. Higher levels of energy, the higher the voltage will be in your body. It's simple. It's not that complicated. So when you put all these cells together, you can look at your whole body as one giant cell. So when you look at disease, what you kind of, a strategy is what you want. You want to increase the energy within you. You want to increase the negative charge on your body, right? This is kind of a strategy. What to do that? Water and light. These are two key things. Water can, if you get the right form of water, can really help deal with this. And then if you start bringing light into the body in a different way, you can do it from your environment. You can even go as far as you can do it within. But we'll leave that for another video. But it's important because that's one of my conclusions here, is that the diseases that we're seeing, it's from people that their bodies are, their energy levels are so low. And this goes into the energy field of the body too. When you have you look into the emotional level, the past traumas and all these things that are stored, they cripple your body. They cripple you. So if there's a way that you want to bring your energy levels down in the body without even, it won't even be in your awareness. That's so deep, so deep. I just, there's so much more we can talk about. We'll have to save that for another video. But another conclusion I had is, this whole process that I've been, from going through the doctors and getting poked at and tested for this and tested for that and not getting anywhere, and then all of a sudden this aha moment where I'm going to fix myself, and I'm going to go out and learn everything and try new things and just experiment on my own body, because that's what it was. This is what it's been like for Jesse and I. Our bodies have literally been a science project. I hate to say that, but it's true. So we really found out what kind of worked with us, what didn't work with us, and we've experimented with we're touching on a lot of this stuff now. You guys can kind of see what we went through, and we figured out what worked and what isn't. So there's a level of, if you could describe this process to where I was then and where I am now, there's a level of growth here. So a level of growth and evolution with me, with Jesse, with both of us. I'm not the same person I was when I was sick. I'm the complete 100% a different person now. And there's a level of growth and evolution that took me there. So this kind of brings into this whole concept that, kind of reality works that way. There is a fundamental process that happens anywhere in nature. Whether you look at that plant outside or you look at the tree, it doesn't really matter. It's all going through this state of growth and evolution, this whole state of becoming, if you want to look at it that way, which is very interesting. And that's key. That seems to be key. If you're sick and you're just not in that state of kind of growing and trying to fix this and get to the bottom of this yourself, you kind of want to just surrender yourself and just say, hey, fix me. Give me pills, whatever, just fix me. You're not growing, So there's something to that fits into the bigger picture here of reality in a way, which we won't talk about here. I just wanted to mention that because this whole process for me was kind of more like a spiritual growth process from where we were when I was sick to now, right? Putting spiritual in front of the growth, that word might kind of throw people off and think, oh, I'm not a religious person or anything. I'm not a religious person. That's not who I was, and that's not who I am now. It doesn't mean that. There's a lot of misinterpretation with that word, but to me, that's kind of the path that I've been walking down. Jesse too. So there's something significant there that, we'll leave that open-ended for now. But yeah, and you could even take this even a little bit further if you want to study some of the, esoteric type of sciences that are out there, like alchemy, for example. Alchemy talks about, they talk about two things, basically. Of course, increasing one's consciousness is the key aspect to life. That's what they talk about. But you do that by increasing one's energy, and you do that by releasing past impressions within you. So I'm using the word impressions. I don't want to go too deep in that because there's so many things to touch on, but it's kind of what I talked about before. You're kind of charging up your battery, you're trying to increase one's energy, but at the same time, you're trying to release old traumas, right? All this old emotional scarring and all these other things, get rid of them. They don't serve you anymore. They're affecting your body and how it functions. Get rid of them. So it kind of lines up to what these ancient scriptures have been saying for thousands of years. And I thought it was very interesting. Hinduism talks about this too, right? They talk about the death of the body is the result of one's own karma. So when you look at karma, what's karma? Karma is just action. Any action, just action, but action from memory. So if you take action from your memory your whole life, which is where all your stored and all your traumas are, that might lead you to more of a state of where disease can start to, manifest itself. It's very interesting when you start reading these things, and that's kind of the journey that I've been on. I started looking at all this stuff and making all these connections everywhere. It's like, man, wow, this is huge. So then you get into fate and free will, you know. If you ignore what all your, you know, your past impressions are all that stuff that's stored, if you ignore all that, then that might bring a state of fate. And that fate may be, I don't know, man, I don't know what that may be, but it might be something like a disease state in the body too, right? If you ignore it. So, and that kind of brings into the whole state of free will. You don't have to choose that path. You can say, like I did, and just say, no more. I'm choosing this path now. And you never know, right? It kind of helped Jesse and I. That's been a really a risky thing to do. We just kind of risked a lot of things, but we got to this place, and if you decide to go that place, it takes courage, lots of it. Like, what keeps you from that? You know, if you got a lot of fear built up in you, that'll just keep you from kind of jumping down that path. You know, you got to look at that too. There's a whole level we can go into that too, right? So, last but not least, I think for me, you know, the motivation and the intent behind getting well was the key to restoring myself. Even from when I first started, even though I didn't know this then, but I think I know this now, I was always motivated to get on this path. I always saw it in my mind. It was there. It was just, that's where I need to go. You know, the intent was just out there so strong all this time. I didn't really know it or pay attention of it because I really didn't know, you know, wasn't into that stuff then. But the more I see it now, it's like, man, that's a huge thing if you want to, you know, battle an illness like this, is that you need to be motivated and you need to have that intent out there that keep your eyes on the prize, basically, is what it is, right? Don't just look at, you know, what's happening physically in front of you all the time and, you know, whether you're in pain or whether you're not. No, I mean, sure, you will do that, but keep your mind and your intent focused on the prize, and things will just start working out for you in a way. Because they did for me and Jesse in magical ways, just because I think we were putting that out there. So there's a level of that's huge in this here too. Keeping a positive attitude throughout all this too. I know anybody that's struggling with Lyme, I sympathize. I know it's pure hell. I know what it's like. I struggled with it. So it's not an easy thing to say, is, you know, stay positive. I know sometimes you just don't want to. You don't want to be positive, right? So. But it's important to try and take the little things along the way. That's what I can suggest to people, is that any little thing that kind of gives you a little boost in energy, or anything that kind of brings a little bit positive in your life in that moment, keep that with you and allow that to be the momentum to keep you moving forward. And don't just look that, you know, oh, I'm sick now and then tomorrow you want it all to be well. It's not going to be an overnight process, you know. It took me years. And I'm still working at it. I mean, you know, there's a little bit of work I still need to do too, and it's never gonna, this journey continues for me, but you need to have patience. That's the key. Patience is huge, and, you know, be positive and keep that motivation out there to getting well and finding the answers and what you need to get you on that path. Things will find you, you know, and start looking at some of these other things that maybe I'm bringing up here, and looking at them, because they all play a role, you know, and it's huge. Every little thing that I think we've done has contributed to this. I can't say that, oh, there's one thing I did and this is just what fixed me. You know, it's not like that. There's just so much. And as you can see, you know, this video has taken, I don't know, a lot of hours here, and I didn't expect it to go this long, but it's just, I just have so much to say on this stuff, you know. It's been a journey. It's been over 10 years, and I'm a different person now, and it's a different world that's coming too, and we need to be prepared for that. But at the same time, we need to get some things in our life that help us, you know, start to give a little bit of relief to some of these symptoms, I think, is what people need. And there's lots of ways to do that, and, you know, Jesse and I are just more motivated to do this. This is the only reason why we're doing it. We don't want anything else. This isn't for anything else, just to help you. There's nothing else that we want. So we know what it's like to struggle. That's why. You got two people that are just highly motivated, highly energetic. I mean, I'm to the point now where I'm just, you know, sleep 5-6 hours a night. That's all I need, and I'm just go. I got so much energy, and it's incredible. And I think you guys can all get on that pathway too, and It's never going to be the same thing for everybody. What worked for me isn't going to work for everybody. It's not that way. You know, it's important. You can take bits and pieces and you try things. You figure out if they work or if they don't. You know, that's what I'm saying. This is kind of this whole growth and evolution process at work. That's what it is. That is the fundamental process. You know, you take something, you try it. If it gets you to a higher state of being, keep it. If it takes you down a notch, get rid of it. Don't go at it again. And then you go on to the next step and you try something new. So you're piecing your way, you know, you're kind of climbing this ladder in a way by making your choices, and paying attention to the results of your choices is key. I mean, keep a journal, you know, write things down, or, you know, whatever you need to do. I know Jessie and I did that. She's got books and books and books of stuff, experiences from hers that we go back and we read it today. It's like, wow, you actually wrote all that stuff down from that time when we did all that stuff. It's amazing. So, and it's helped her. I think that's important for anybody that's going through this disease, to kind of keep track of their progress and keep track of the things that work and keep track of the things that don't. And for me, I think the message for me is, you know, look at the body as a holistic entity here. It's not a car. It's not that you focus on one part or the other. It's not. That's not how the body works, period. Like I said, I'm going to end this video saying that, you know, the two of us are here. If you need to message us, send us an email. We will do whatever we can to help. We know what it's like to struggle, so we'll leave this video at that. And, you know, I appreciate you guys if you stood and, you know, watched this all the way to the end. I know it's a long time, and it's the first time I've ever talked about my whole life like this to anybody. And here it is on, you know, the YouTube for the world. It's kind of this is the first video I've ever really made on my own, you know. Jessie's always kind of, you know, led this in the past, so it's I like it. It's a good experience, and I just want to hope that I can share some more information for you guys that hopefully might help. That's it. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time. Thanks.